Hello and welcome to. We are going to talk about electronic commerce and the new way of doing business. We are going to talk about how the web is changing things around us. So, although the idea eventually is to develop a sound grounding in some of the vocabulary and some of the concepts, we'll go over exactly why these changes are happening first before we go into the standard frame of references. Okay. Now, first, the internet. Look at this slide. Okay, who is on the internet here? Okay. If you look at this, pretty much everybody that you know of, all age groups are on the internet, and these are 2001 numbers. 2004 numbers, that's the latest one I have, are pretty similar to this. And what it is also saying is broadband is increasing over a period of time. So the point I'm trying to make with this slide is, if you are not on the internet, you are missing out. And this is very important to know. It doesn't matter. People might come out with an argument saying that, hey, my age group is not on the internet. No, your age group is on the internet. Pretty much every age group is on the internet today. The concepts regarding the web, we can now talk about e-commerce and e-business. But let's first talk about the foundations. Okay, we had money coming around the 13th century. Money was very important. Before money, we had the barter system. So we had John and Mary as two people. Mary had a sheep, and John had rice. Okay, let's say he had 2 bushels of rice. Okay, they wanted to trade 2 bushels of rice was equal to 1 sheep, so they would trade with each other. They would exchange the commodities. This was a typical barter system. Okay, the problem was when Mary wanted only 1 sheep. Only 1 bushel of rice. John was not ready to accept half the sheep. Fair enough, right? So what do? We converted all of these things into a standard monetary transaction, whereby we were able to give a value to rice, we were able to give a value to sheep, and they exchanged it under a common dividable currency, which expanded trade opportunities significantly. Later on, around the 16th century, credit, bank, accounting, stock exchanges started to come into being. Understand this, that banks really weren't formed to trade with you and me. They were formed to create credit. And we've seen what the credit squeeze can do in an economy. It is estimated that for every $1 real that exists, $8 of economy gets created just because of this infrastructure existing. What it allowed organizations to do is to expand. Suddenly internationalization started to happen around across Europe. All of this started from Italy, and around Europe internationalization started to happen, and people were expanding. That phenomena continued, and we are in the world of globalization today, where sourcing is happening from different organizations. You get products from Taiwan, you assemble them in China, and then you ship them to Japan to be serviced in India. Okay, so that's what is happening around us. From a technology perspective, something phenomenal happened. ERPs came into being. Now the concept of ERP is very important here, not just ERP. What ERP, just to refresh, did for us was standardization. We standardized information in certain formats and started putting it into databases. Now just try and recollect. If any one of you has bought anything online, and what did you buy? Most of us buy books, clothes, etc. Okay. Now think about this. You're supposed to get. Let's go back to the sheep for an example. Let's see. You're supposed to get a sheep from China. Okay. Any sheep okay? No. Well, why? You would like, first of all, the sheep to be alive, good health, strong cover, etc., etc. Okay? What am I telling you? Why am I telling you this? What I'm telling you is we look at the sheep, we look at commodities, we look at goods because we want to appraise them. Okay? Now, take your decision criteria for the last commodity you bought online. If I am able to provide you with all the information that you need for decision making, not the product itself, but all the information that you need. It's alive, it's in good health, strong cover, and whatever else you need to make the decision, except showing you the exact sheep, you might be able to make a decision. And that is what the internet is providing you. So why is it such a big hit? Why is it such a big hit? This is what it does. It separates, and this is very powerful. Okay? It separates the information about the product from the product itself. I don't have to go to give you a sheep. I don't have to give you a sheep as long as all the information I give you about the sheep is there. Okay? And guess how fast information regarding a sheep can travel when compared to the sheep itself? That's lightning speed. Okay? I send an email today, it's there the next second in America, from China to America. Okay? The sheep can take months to travel. Okay? And that is the power of the internet. The ability to separate information about the product from the product itself. It has been propelled by globalization, propelled by the expansion of monetary facilities around the world. Okay? The second thing that has happened is the changes around you. Okay? Think about it. When, again, let's go back to my fictitious Mary here. When Mary was born in that village, she was the alone one. She would die in that village. She would live in that village. She would die in that village. She lived in that singular society. She would work for one employer. She had a profession, and that is what it was. Life was simpler. If you look around yourselves today, you belong, just you guys, okay? You belong to UNF. You belong to your job societies. You belong to your social societies. You belong to Facebook-based societies and other social networking. Okay? There are so many societies you belong to. Additionally, most of you will end up holding 4 to 5 jobs easily over the rest of your life. Okay? So what is happening? Things are changing. You are now at the center of the world. Okay? As a matter of fact, Times magazine a couple of years ago named you as the person of the year. That is the revolution. You control in the information world. If you don't like something, you're able to switch really quickly. You don't like Amazon, you switch to Overstock or something like that. Okay? You don't like one company, you'll stick to another company. Yes, I understand that currently jobs might look tough, but you'll still change. You'll still change. And that means people have now started to, instead of focusing only on the needs and desire, the requirements of the society, we now have to focus on you. You are at the center. Everything has to be directed around you. Okay? And the internet allows that kind of customization. We use the word mass customization. Okay? Where the idea is not to just give out a singular commodity for everybody. but to customize it for everybody and still maintain the economies of scale because of mass production. Tough challenge, but that's the future. Okay. Let's also define electronic commerce and electronic business. Electronic commerce is the exchange of value online. It's the process of distributing, buying, selling, marketing services over a computer network such as internet. E-business is the use of advanced technology and other advanced IT to enable business processes and operations. This is restricted to transactions. This e-business is all about end-to-end business process management. Okay? Which also means that e-business is a superset of e-commerce. So it's a much wider array. That's why we will see the changes in coursework, in a lot of other organizations, in textbooks, going from e-commerce to e-business, because now we are able to understand the power of electronic channels. There were also some major electronic milestones that you have to understand. Okay, 1984 is the first time when electronic channels really started to flow. We started to use EDI. We've already talked about XML and its predecessor called X12 standard. In this case, organizations were exchanging a lot of information with each other over electronic channels, but predefined electronic channels. This was standardized, this was controlled, not very user-friendly, but it was done to reduce cost. 1995, the Netscape browser started to go along. The browser is now dead. It was bought over by AOL, and naturally they killed it. But around this time, the Japanese management theories also started coming in, and pressures on manufacturing were really started to happen. Okay, so companies were also looking at processes like TQL and BPR to save money, to make their quality of product better. 1998, the big holiday extravaganza validated internet shopping. 1995 onwards, there was always this idea that internet will be the next big thing, but it never had become. But in 1998, for the first time, the big spending on the internet really happened. Okay, and yes, the internet had arrived for everybody. 1998, the ERPs also started happening, and I've already talked to you about the benefits of ERP and internal management of resources. Linux and Netscape. You remember Netscape? You remember Napster? Napster became the big thing. Okay, why? Why is this a very important thing? For the first time, alternate models of doing business started to evolve. Both Linux and Napster were completely non-traditional. Linux is an open source product, open source operating system that's managed by nobody. It's managed across the internet. Okay, everybody contributes in developing it, and we come back to it. And it's validated by a few people, and then it's distributed. Nobody owns it, or rather everybody owns it, everybody contributes to it, and it has become a very, very nice operating system. Napster, on the other hand, exploited the power of peer-to-peer computing, and again established an internet paradigm. And people started to then explore all of these alternate business models. The power of the internet for doing businesses was starting to happen. SCM applications started to come around at this time. Remember, ERP was all about internal. SCM was about reaching out. Reaching out. Moving on, in 2000, what also happened was the big thing that happened around 2000 was this AOL acquirement by Time Warner. Although the merger has failed from now on, for now, but it symbolized something very important. It was the first time when old and new media were starting to merge. Okay, and this, in today's world, has given rise to websites like Hulu, which have taken old media and put them on the new method of delivering content, and are successful. Okay, and are very successful. Companies are now starting to do that, but this was again an idea of a revolution where an alternate business model was being looked at. In 2000, the first time electronic commerce sites were hit with denial of service attacks. Denial of service attacks basically are multiple computers trying to access the website at one time. You've seen similar ideas when a lot of people during exam time are trying to access Blackboard. It gets really, really slow. And guess what? We are only around 4,000 students trying to access Blackboard. What about 1 million people trying to access a single website? Now, this is not done with the help of people. It is done by embedding a virus into a computer which acts at a certain point in time, bringing down the website. 2000, the Internet Tax Moratorium was extended. What is the Internet Tax Moratorium? The US Congress recognized a long time ago that to expand sale on the internet, we need to have some form of an incentive. It was also compounded by the following problem. There are two states, Florida and California. Okay, let's say, or Florida and let's keep it simple, let's say Georgia. You go across the border and you buy candy. What tax do you pay? You pay Georgia sales tax. Okay, why? Because the good was procured there, exchange happened there, and that's where transfer of ownership happened. When does transfer of ownership happen on the internet? We don't know that yet. Does it happen on the cyberspace? Does it happen, suppose you buy something from Amazon, does it happen in Seattle, so you pay Washington state tax? Does it happen when you get it, so you pay Florida sales tax? It's very confusing, because if it happens the moment you bought it, then it's in your ownership and you are responsible for any damaged goods that come to you. But if it happens when you get it and when you get it, then all the liability is with Amazon. Also, states are fighting over it. Who should get the tax? Who should get the tax between the two states? Okay, nobody wants to give up their own revenue. And thus it is very unclear where the transfer of ownership happens, and thus where the actual point of sale is. And that's when the US Congress came in and said, you know what, we need to give incentives. It is very unclear. We need to stop states from fighting with each other. So we are just going to keep these as sales tax exempted. Now, I believe that 7 states went ahead and created rules regarding internet taxation before the US Congress acted, and these rules have stayed in place, but not in Florida. Okay, not in Florida. You get a sales tax exemption. Okay, CRM and knowledge management systems also came around this time. This continued the idea of reaching out with the help of CRM, and with knowledge management system, we were even starting to track qualitative data. Okay, 2001, the internet bubble burst. Okay, huge losses. But what was the good thing about it? The good thing about this was that by this time we had experimented enough and we knew enough about the internet to take it to the next level. Okay. Yes, there were a lot of different business models that were implemented, from web WAN to a lot of different ones, and a lot of them caused a lot of failures. But by this time, enough investment had been made into the infrastructure, and people had gained enough knowledge about the infrastructure, enough data was collected on the internet to know exactly what works and what doesn't work. And that is why, if you look at the internet sales since the burst, they've always been going up. Globalization and localization of e-commerce services started happening around 2001. New business models again started to come in, where you were starting to look at the wider array of taking your concepts around the world: eBay India, eBay China, Google New Zealand, and you were starting to localize these services. These trends have only continued over a period of time. I just wanted to give you a brief history of the big milestones with respect to e-commerce. What are the advantages of the internet? The advantages of the internet are improved efficiency, operational efficiency, and productivity. You've seen this. Okay. By just doing things online, we are able to enhance productivity around the globe. Reduction in operation costs, that's simple to understand. Although the internet has actually allowed barriers to competition to go down, the internet has actually increased the brand value of most companies, and if the internet is used correctly, it has allowed companies to improve their competitive position. This is simple to understand: penetration of new markets, improved communication, harmonization and standardization of processes, improved internal information access, and improved relationships. Again, companies like Toyota have done a remarkable job of improving their relationships with suppliers by using the internet. In 2003, Heng did a study regarding the first order effects of e-business, and what he found is, although the true realization of the true fear of the disappearance of intermediaries has not happened, there is a deflationary pressure on intermediaries, and they are forced to actually bring down their costs. Okay. It has also increased interdependence in organizations. This idea of I can see your inventory and therefore I can plan has reduced inventory, and when something goes bad in one part of the value chain, everything starts to suffer based on that, because there is no inventory. It has also emphasized the need for a rating agency. We talked about this earlier also. When you go and buy something on eBay, you look at the rating of the person who's selling it. And because you're looking at the rating of the person who's selling it, you're able to make a better decision. But there is no comprehensive rating system on the internet, just like we have for financial transactions. We have the FICO score. It's also challenging traditional business model. Netflix and Blockbuster is a very good example. It's transforming banks. I've already talked to you about the example of when I wanted an auto loan with Bank of America, and Bank of America branches don't give auto loans anymore. You have to apply it online. Okay? So it is transforming banks. You go to your local branch and you can see the transformation that has happened. And there's a lot of questions regarding the laws that we need regarding in this new economy. Things from sales tax that we talked about, to verification, electronic signatures, etc., etc. Okay, those all. What are the big inhibitors to e-commerce? The first one, let's go back to the socio-technical. People just don't understand this idea that it is not just the technology that has to change, but the social side as well. Social and technical, the socio-technical system has to change. Organizations also don't have a very clear management or strategy. You need to have a very, very clear e-business strategy. You need to understand how that will affect the overall business strategy and how organizational infrastructure and social needs have to change around it. Okay. Cost and financing. Technology has always suffered with this and will continue to suffer from it. Calculating a return on investment is very, very difficult. Okay. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's by not doing it, you might lead yourself to competitive disadvantage. We've already talked about the trust issue. There are also some security issues that we'll talk about later. And then there are technology concerns. We have already invested a lot of money. For example, companies like Bank of America have invested a lot of money in their existing mainframe-based applications. And they don't want to mess with it because they work. And they're very, very scared about it. So they're keeping a lot of things in their old COBOL-based system. But now with the advances in web services, we are starting to think about getting over the technology concerns regarding interportability of legacy systems.